Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. I am Melinda Han Williams. I am the Chief Data Scientist at Dstillery, the AI company, the AI targeting company. And I'm going to talk about Dstillery's multimodal AI and about how learning a view of a brand's best customers from across data modalities leads to the best performance and the best flexibility. OK, so here's what I'm up to. I'm going to talk about how multimodal AI works. I'm going to walk you through a specific example to give you a better idea of that performance and flexibility. And then I'm going to give you a quick peek at DS1, which is our agentic AI interface to all of our AI audience targeting capabilities. OK, so multimodal AI, the best predictions rooted in behavioral data. So one of the most powerful aspects of today's AI is its ability to learn from data across modalities. So whether we're talking about cars learning from video and radar and GPS to build a coherent picture of the world and drive a car, or we're talking about taking input as text as input and making a realistic video as output, multimodal AI is so powerful because it can learn from data across modalities and apply that result across modalities. At Dstillery, when we talk about multimodal AI for targeted advertising, we mean that when our AI learns about a brand's best customers, it's learning from across data types to build a coherent view, which not only drives better predictions and better performance, but also because it's fluent across data modalities, it gives you a ton of flexibility to work with a lot of different data inputs and data outputs. So I'm going to talk about what that looks like, learning from across data types, understand a view of your brand's best customer. And I'm going to start with the type of data that we have seen over and over again leads to the best performance for targeted advertising. And that's behavioral data. So if you think about a language model like ChatGPT, language models learn about language, learn what words mean from language data. It's like by guessing the missing word in a sentence for millions of sentences. Targeting models really are behavioral models. Their job is to understand and predict behavior. And the best way to learn about behavior is from behavioral data. So in the same way that ChatGPT learns what a word means by guessing the missing word in a sentence, our AI learns what websites mean by guessing the missing website in a journey. And I'm talking about opted-in digital panels collected outside the ad ecosystem. And the point here, the goal isn't actually to predict what any one person will do next. The point of this is to study those patterns in those journeys, understand those digital behaviors so we can understand each website visit as a behavioral signal in terms of what it means when someone visits that website in terms of their intent and what they're going to do next on their journey. So this is what the model looks like in terms of, this is what it looks like when we capture that behavioral signal. So think of this like a map. Every dot here is a website. And dots that are closer to each other are websites that are visited kind of interchangeably in those journeys. They kind of mean the same thing in terms of someone's journey. So you can see Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg are right next to each other on this map. And then I added that label business news. My model doesn't care about these category labels because the position in this space captures so much information. So I'm showing it in 2D here. But the real model, the data the real model looks at is in 128 dimensions. So if you've heard of embeddings as the thing that captures the meaning of words in a large language model, this is our embedding for digital behavior. So you see Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg right next to each other. Kind of near those sites is some stock trading sites. Again, the ones that are really similar are right next to each other. Kind of near those are some crypto sites. This is just one tiny corner of the internet, but all the behaviors and behavioral intent is captured in this map. So far, I'm just looking at website behavior, but I said we wanted to bring in every type of behavior. So we bring in CTV data. And so you can see CTV titles and genres and networks and where those activations sit in terms of their intent and how they relate to these other digital behaviors. We bring in mobile app data. You can see mobile app names and how they fit into those same micro neighborhoods in terms of on this map. We bring in search data, so we're seeing real search terms that people typed into search engines, and you can see how that fits, how that relates to these other behaviors, and what it says about the intent behind those journeys. And even our latest edition audio data, so we can see podcasts and how those tie to other digital behaviors and how they all connect. So we have this super rich, high-dimensional view that captures all these digital behaviors and how they relate to each other. So now we want to make it actionable, right? We want to be able to use this to build an audience for targeting for a campaign. So we bring in seed data. We bring in data that captures the target that advertiser is trying to drive in that particular campaign. In this example here, it's first-party data. It's a CRM segment for checking account signups. So some set of people that represents the type of people, the behavior that the advertiser is trying to drive in this campaign. So from there, we built a custom AI model specific to this advertiser based on what they chose as their target signal, their seed data for this campaign, that tells us the value of every single digital behavior in terms of how predictive it is to result in the behavior that they're trying to drive in their campaign. And so that means that because we're learning this across modalities in this space that's natively fluent across all these different data types, we can automatically express that behavioral prediction of what's going to drive results in terms of user segments, the devices and their history that's most likely to drive this behavior, or just inventory alone with contextual or curation. We can express it with bidding algorithms, and all of that can happen on display or CTV or in-app and now audio. So this is the view of how we're learning across data modalities to get the best view of the customer, the potential customer for the brand. I want to give you run through a specific example of why this approach drives not just performance, but so much flexibility. So we saw this view of how we're learning from all these different data modalities. If we zoom out for a second and look at the steps involved here, because we're learning in this shared space that understands all these different types of data, there's a huge choice of data types we can pick as that seed input. Then we're going to learn in this space that's learning across data modalities. And then because that model is fluent across data modalities, we're going to be able to seamlessly express that result across all of these different activation channels. So we can talk about a specific example. So picture a ski and snowboard apparel brand. So they run a campaign to drive ski jacket sales for the winter. And they can have their choice of seeds. So it can be first-party data. This can be a pixel. It can be a CRM segment that captures the behavior they're looking for. They can choose URL visits that they know represents the behavior that they're kind of trying to drive. Search terms. So this is something that we can see in our panel data where we see what people actually typed into search engines. And also even digital shopping behavior. So purchase page interactions and the pages that people are shopping at when they're searching for these products. They can choose any of these as the seed for their model. Whatever they choose, that is going to then be evaluated in this shared space so that we're going to find the signals across all different modalities that are predictive of that action that we're trying to drive. And then because the model is fluent in all of these types of data, it can then naturally be expressed as device segments, as contextual, as custom bidding algorithms, or as curation. So one place where we've seen really strong results with this is in CTV. And so to get even more specific with that ski example, we can say that brand picked as their seed the women's clothing landing page. And so now they can take that seed. We can look at the behavioral signals to see which behaviors are predicted to drive conversions for that specific action. And then we can use that to then activate on CTV to find the devices that are associated with behaviors that we see in our behavioral data is predicted to drive that action. And because of this shared space we're using, this multimodal space across data modalities, we can even express that same behavioral predicted result as contextual on CTV. So we can target genres, we can target networks, we can even target individual shows across networks based on this performance-driven behavioral view of who has been predicted, what behaviors have been seen as being predictive to drive conversions for that brand. So I think this is like a level of performance that people aren't used to thinking of or expecting from CTV. And it's pretty unique to be able to take this behaviorally driven view and then apply it not just to user segments, but also to individual shows and genres and networks through the CTV contextual activation. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is our agentic AI interface to access all of those multimodal AI capabilities. And we went in a bit of a different direction at Dstillery with our agent than I think a lot of companies did. Rather than starting with an agent and then enriching it with different types of data, we started with our multimodal AI audience building capabilities. And then we built an agentic layer on top of that as an interface to those capabilities. So our agent is truly just an interface to our core audience capabilities. But what makes it so powerful is it's an interface that can pull levers in the real world. It can use those Dstillery audience building tools, and it can interact with external systems outside of Dstillery's walls. So we're finding that using agentic AI in this way as a smart interface that can take external actions is really changing how clients and partners can interact with our product and embed it in their workflows. So the result is not just faster results, but actually better results. So I'm going to walk you through how our clients and partners are using it today. I'm kind of excited that everyone, like, there's screens throughout, because I wasn't expecting you guys to be able to see.
Advertising week brings the heat to the city where creators come to meet. Take a seat, learn the new ways and the breast of big ideas.
I wish it was this much of a party every time I gave a talk. So I'm going to go through this example pretty fast. I don't know how well you can see it, but I can talk your ear off about this all day long, so if you want to see more, definitely come talk to me. Our agentic interface, DS1, it's available in a lot of different ways. The most common way that our partners and clients are using it today is talking to it directly through a Slack interface like this, so this is what I'm going to show. And I'm going to talk about how this interface allows us to not just make your results faster, but actually through the iteration, actually get better results too. So I'm going to give you 3 quick examples, one about audience selection, one about custom audience building, and one about activating an audience. Okay, so first, predictive lift ranking. This is a tool that we use to choose audiences that are predicted to perform well for a campaign without running any media. And so I can even barely read what I typed here, but I asked it, please help me find audiences that will perform for a large clothing retailer. That's like a masked name for a brand, since this is first-party data. And what it's going to do is it's going to access a simulation that we run across our catalog of 20,000 plus audiences to predict which audiences are going to perform for this campaign against their first-party data. And so you can see it found some audiences. It has some first-party audiences with a very high lift, then some custom audiences that Dstillery made custom for this brand, and then a bunch of pre-built behavioral audiences that are available to any brand. So without running any media, we can see how these things are expected to perform. Say I want to add some of these audiences, but I kind of want a better understanding of what's going on. How do I inform my activation on my campaign? I can say, please find me some thematic groups of these audiences, and it finds high-end fashion and frugal stuff and competitive brands. The point here is that, so it's giving me all these results. DS1 didn't do any math here. It's accessed an analysis that we already run outside of DS1 for all of our clients. What the agent's adding here is that it made that analysis instantly accessible, and that lets us talk to the data, and that instant accessibility is what lets our clients add this to their workflows in a way that is providing really strong results. One more example. This is an audience building example. This is in a case where the seed is a product purchase interaction, so I can say, help me find purchase intent seeds for vitamins. It then searches through our panel data for product pages that match what I'm looking for. It found me all these vitamin pages. What I like about this agentic interface is that I can interact with it super easily. So I can look at this and be like, actually, please narrow it down to women's vitamins. That's more what I'm looking for. And it spits right back another set of results. That level of, the fact that iteration is so quick really lowers the barrier to iterating, which gets you more customized results and better results, just by virtue of it being faster and more accessible. So then I say, okay, go ahead and kick off my custom AI model, my multimodal AI model. And an important thing to note here is that the agent isn't building an audience for me. This isn't a case of like generative AI kind of thinking about what would work and then just like targeting what sounds right. Like, I don't want that. This is, the audience itself is built with predictive AI. It's built with multimodal AI using behavioral data. And DS1, my agent, all it's doing here is pulling the levers for me and making it all easy to access and to get into my workflow. Okay, last quick example is custom deal ID creation. Because after we create audiences, then we need to go activate them on our DSP or SSP of choice. So here's a case where I say, please make me a deal ID on Index Exchange, and it goes ahead and does that. And what I like about this example is it's a reminder that this is an agent that goes beyond research and informational tasks and actually pulls levers in the real world. So this thing has access to Dstillery tools. It can interact with external systems. And so the big difference here with all of that access is a faster and more seamless workflow which itself leads to more customization and better results. Okay, so if you want to hear more about DS1, come talk to me later. I can talk about it all day. It's really changing the way our clients are interacting with our audience building capabilities. And what I want you to remember is Dstillery's multimodal AI gives you performance and flexibility. You can start with any type of seed data. You learn across data types rooted in behavioral data. That drives performance across activation methods. And I can't read my last point, but I think it's about DS1. Access it agentically with DS1. All right, thank you.